The third humanizing suggestion I have is to conduct a getting to know you survey with your students. And the timing when you would do this, of course, is any time during the first week. This is a good activity to use to give students a few easy points, also to take attendance. We're supposed to take attendance right during the first week of the semester. In an asynchronous online class, we have to come up with, we have to be very deliberate with how we collect that. So this is actually what I do in my class. I have my students, they have to post an introduction discussion and they have to complete the pre-course survey. And they have to do both of those in order to maintain their enrollments in the class. If you give them an early deadline, like Tuesday or Wednesday the first week, then you can reach out to those who don't do it while there's still time in that first week. In our policies and regs, we have language about when we drop students for no-shows, and it is technically the first week, although in a face-to-face class, we can drop them if they don't show on the first day. So how you do this with your students, I find that what I use is a Canvas survey. I make it a graded survey. That means they get the points no matter how they answer the questions, because there are no wrong answers, of course. And I also, in order to help me get connected to the students, right, this is how I get to know something about them. I provide the answers, I provide my answers to the same questions in the feedback. So after they take the survey, right, one of the options is to reveal to give question feedback. I have the air quotes up because I was going to say reveal correct answers. It's funny, I can't remember what those options are, but we'll see when I do the demo in a moment. So again, by using a graded survey, it's an easy way for them to get a few points at the beginning of the semester, gives them a sense of accomplishment. It's okay, and I do this to ask questions that are connected to the course learning outcomes so that I might decide, this is kind of an easy way to do a pre and post assessments of what they know or how they feel about whatever I'm teaching. But I also like to ask them questions about who they are, and especially what, I try to ask questions that will help me learn what I can do to help them be, feel comfortable, but be ready to learn in my class. And I'll go ahead and let's do that demo real quick. Funny how I can touch the same buttons over and over and forget each time. Okay, so here's what I would do is I would go go straight to quizzes, and I'll just create it here and create a quiz. I'm going to call this my Getting to Know You and this is going to be a graded survey. I'm going to make this 10 points. Here are the options that I mentioned before. I don't want to keep submissions anonymous because I want to be able to reach out to individual students if they say something that might need attention. Let them see their quiz responses, yes. Let them see the correct answers. I think I need to have this turned on in order for them to see my feedback. Okay, and then what I do for my assignments, on this particular assignment, I do give it an end date, an until date. That is that date that I tell students they have to complete their activities. So I think it's going to be August 29th this semester, because that's the Sunday, the second Sunday. Yeah. So if a student hasn't taken the survey by August 29th, then on August 30th, I know they're not interested in taking the class, for whatever reason, they're a no-show, and then, I drop them, that opens up a spot for someone else. So in the instructions for the survey, of course, I would say why I'm doing this with friendly language about being supportive and all that kind of stuff. And then I also like to say this is a graded survey, which means you get the points. Free points, okay? I'm going to say free points, but I'm sure you all can think of good language that might work with your students that will be perhaps more professional. So here's a question. I'm only going to do a one and just kind of as an example in terms of the demonstration. And then again, I'll share with you an example in a moment. So one question that I ask my students is, where were you born? I like to make this a multiple choice, and my possible answers are the Sacramento area, elsewhere, in California, elsewhere in America, elsewhere around the world. Okay. And then my feedback is I tell them where I was born. I was born in Sacramento and have lived in the Bay Area, including Fremont and Berkeley, Los Angeles, and Cambridge, Massachusetts. Okay, so let me click done, update question. At the end of the survey, I can look at the results, and then what I'd like to do, like this question in particular, is I will share this back with the class, and I will say, and I'll put an announcement saying, hey, this is who we are. 30% of us weren't born in America, 40%, but 60% of us were born in the Sacramento area. The other questions that I ask, I might again share back with them. And then I do something in particular that I've shared with probably some of you in the room is one of the questions that I ask in my survey is, what is the best experience you've ever had in a classroom? And my students will share, the ones who answer that question, you know, they'll share something that some teacher did that they really liked. Sometimes it's a high school teacher, sometimes it's a college professor. I like that question because I want them to think positively about learning, right? Positively about being in school. If there's a technique that they share that I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds really neat, then I might try to do that myself. But what I really like doing about that as a colleague is if they ever name an individual faculty member in Los Rios, I will contact that instructor and I will say, Timmery, you're an excellent instructor. How do I know? One of your students told me so. Because they'll say something like, I had Professor Hagenberger for a nutrition class and it was really awesome, right? Whatever that stuff. So I really like that because it allows me to help another colleague get a warm fuzzy right at the beginning of the semester. Anyway, so this is what I do with this type of survey. And I also, as I mentioned here, I add questions. Here's a question that I've been asking over the past couple of semesters is, I ask the time management question and I tell them, look, this is a 3-unit lecture course. You should be spending about 9 hours a week working on this course. How do you plan on doing that? How do you schedule that time in to make sure you get the work done, right? Because I want them thinking about, at the beginning of the semester, thinking about time management, especially in an asynchronous online course where that is one of the biggest challenges. All right, let me go ahead and do a share and let's do that example. So the example that I'm going to share is a sample survey that was written by and shared public domain. So I'm going to put the link in the chat. Her name is Michelle Pacansky-Brock. She is an outstanding educator. She does professional developments in how to be a Humanize course. In fact, these tips, some of the language that I'm using, I've actually taken directly from her website. Let me go ahead and show that to you. So this is a survey that she created. And here's her welcoming. This is a Google form, but this could easily be adapted to Canvas. Hello, students. After you've read our course syllabus, please take a few moments to complete this form. Your responses will come directly to me and will be kept confidential. I will use the information you provide to support your success this semester. Okay. And so what has she got? She's got a preferred name question, right? Great question there. Preferred pronouns. We get that information already in Canvas, so I wouldn't ask that. Ourselves. Which of the following describes you? I think this is a great question. Select all that apply. This is my first semester of college, the first of my family to attend college, the first time taking an online class. Excuse me, I work more than 20 hours a week. I'm a caretaker for at least one other person, right? Great questions. She asks her students, I may leave you feedback in voice or video. How does that sound to you? One of the options, I prefer written feedback, right? So she's hearing directly from them what she can do to help them be successful. But more importantly, I think, is she's validating their experience and saying, I care enough about you as a person to ask, how do you prefer to get feedback? And then she'll, of course, keep a note, and during the semester, depending on the students, how they answer that question, they'll give them feedback in that format. So what I'm going to do right now in the chat is I mean, I could link to this form, but there's a better page. Oh, sorry. I thought I would have this handy and I don't. Oh, because it's probably in my notes for my thing. Okay, sorry. Mom's telling me, Greg, you already have this presentation open in another window. Why do you have it here too? Here we go. So this link I'm about to post is a web page from her blog that includes the survey that I'm showing you. It's an embedded Google form. It's got more information about why she asked that question. Okay, so yeah, that was the example I showed it to you. So let me go ahead and take a break here and say, ask you, how do you get to know your students? So let me see what we've got in the chat here. Thank you, Kim. I add name coach to my getting to know me assignments, and it has been so helpful. Yeah. Pronunciation of my name, Fawad, I think I got that right, is importance to you. Kim, it's important to me too. And I know students appreciate it if I say the name correctly. So yeah, so this is again a way that we can help our students, right? That serves dual purposes. However we do this type of getting to know you survey, is it shows that we care about them and it gives us valuable information to help them. All right, Kim, thank you for class introduction discussion. Yes, that's actually coming up. That's the fourth tip. Thank you. That was Tim Ream, and thank you, Kelly. I have an introduction, and I start with my own share. Yes, I think that's important for us to model for our students, that we are human, to share our feelings about stuff. As I mentioned in my Getting to Know You survey, I answer all the questions. And like, I know one of my questions is, what is your next step after your time at CRC, right? I ask them that question because I want them thinking about their future, whether it's they're getting a degree or certificate right now, whether they want to transfer, whatever. And I answer that question too, and I say it's probably retirement. Thank you, Sharon. Yeah, what's nice about the survey, in fact, let me see if I can pull this up in a okay to share information type of way. I'll bring the share over for this other page and show you what it looks like in my class from last semester. Let's see, pre-course survey. Yes, so let me switch the share up again and show you. Go back to Safari. Okay, so this is what a quiz or survey page looks like in Canvas. I assume you're all familiar with this. This is my pre-course survey from last semester. And what I have here is a button that says survey statistics. So when I click this button, I click this link rather, it's going to pull up an aggregate of my students, right? I got 38 responses. I use course themes. So this is part of my, what I'm teaching, right? My history class. I asked them, is your home school CRC? Because we're connected to the Online Education Initiative, which means we could have students enrolled in our classes, and we're not going to know unless we ask them or unless they tell us. Their home college could be outside the district. I want to know, have my students taken a fully online course before? Look at in the spring, 97% of them said yes. Okay, no surprise there. Have you used the self-assessment or online readiness tool? Right, that I already told you about that for my first announcement. Let's see. Do you think you will miss regular in-person meetings, right? I'm curious to my students because for them, many of them taking online classes is new. Here's that time management class schedule question I asked. So what I can do, because this is a graded survey that was not anonymous, right? Here's a question here. How will our class fit into your weekly schedule this semester? And I give them 3 options. One of them says is, I'm not sure how I will find the 9 hours each week. Well, if I click on this link, it's going to show me who those 3 students were. So I could click on that link, get those 3 names, and then reach out to them and say, hey, thanks for your response. Here's some resources on time management. Here's a question that does have a correct answer. By when should you expect a reply when contacting me? I tell them it's 2 business days. I really, they think I spend every moment waiting to answer questions, right? No, that's from you, my colleagues, not from my students. Okay, then here's that question. Where were you born, right? So last semester in my class, I could say, hey, class, look at that. 9 of us were born elsewhere in the world, right? And again, if I could find out those new students were, here's that question I mentioned before. What is so far as your best learning experience? So I view these, and then again, I look at those and kind of collect that information. And here's that question: what can I do to help you succeed in this class? So I want them reflecting on what makes them successful students, and if there's anything I can do to help with that.